Hey, church, we're back on yet another study through the book of First Corinthians. We'll wrap up chapter 1 today. I don't think I will do the recap. We'll start letting you guys uh, grasp and wrestle and do the pushing and pulling um, if necessary, or if you're interested for those recaps. I may hit them up now and again, but as a rule, my things have been getting longer and longer. So we're going to minimize some of that in that way, at least for now. So anyway, let's get into this chapter 1, verses 26 through the end, which is verse 31. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. And because of him, you are in Christ, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that, as it is written, let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. All right. So we'll tie into last week, but we're not going to do a big recap. But for consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many of you were powerful. Not many of you were of noble birth. So not many of you were somebody, right? And what he did last week was extend everything out to the world, right? Which is humanity kind of as a whole, out to Christ, right? The transcendence of wisdom, the route of wisdom being from above downward, not the other way, not from here up, right? And so this time he starts to bring it down to us, to the individual, to the Christian, to you, to me, right? So that same train of thought that we pushed out, he's putting it on us at this, right? So for consider your calling. So now it's on you and me and the Corinthians. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many of noble birth. Okay, so we were not even what the world would consider wise and noble, powerful, right? There was nothing in us for the world to even look at and recognize its own standards being met in us, right? Most of us, um, and don't take it as offense because it's a great thing. Watch. So remember, weakness is strength, right? And Paul boasts in it later. Weakness of God is stronger than men. So as far as I'm concerned, let the world have its thing. Go ahead, have your strength, because I know where true strength arises from and comes from. Go ahead and have your wisdom, because I know where wisdom comes from, whom it flows from, and whom it flows through. And yeah, so we get the directionality of it, right? But now me and you are in the middle of this thing now, uh, with these verses here. Um, but God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. Okay, so remember both sides of everything, right? Wise, strong, weak, foolish, so on and so forth, right? But God chose what is foolish, you and me, us, the Corinthians, in the world. So by the world standards, we're nobody, to shame the wise, which is the wise of this world, right? Them who consider themselves wise, them who are working their ways up this ladder of being through their own wisdom and understanding. Forgive that phone going off back there. Anyway, and what is weak in the world to shame the strong. So me and you, weak amongst the worldly standards. And if you take it personal, or be like, well, I'm not weak. I'm pretty good at what I do, or I've succeeded in life, or made a good business, a successful, whatever. No one's taking that away. That's not what the Lord's doing here. That's not what Paul's doing here. What it is man, I lost it because of that dang phone. But what it is man, I'm not even know if I'm gonna get it back. We'll try it anyway. We'll keep it moving and see if we can get it back. Getting old is not for the faint of heart. Not to mention the things that I did to kill a few brain cells here and there back in the day. Not helping now. But anyway, we're here. So, all right. So the boasting, our right to anything, our becoming anything that we are, is in part because of this, in large part because of our being foolish in the world, our being weak according to the world standard. All right, I got it back. So there is a what my life will not matter in the whole scheme of things. I've lived a relatively um, unimpactful life, right, to the world, right? There are a few individuals that are world renowned, that are historical figures, but for in large part, that's just not us, right? None of us. We make our mark. The ripples through time kind of affect, our circle, and sure, it reverberates throughout history, but not in a big, noticeable, dramatic fashion where people will see the wisdom of our decisions on a world stage, or the strength of our command of armies, or those things. So that's where I was going. Man, I got thank the Lord, I got it back. But anyway, so it's not a bad thing, right? So God chose what is low, verse 28, and despised in the world. Again, it's us, and even things that are not to bring nothing, not to bring nothing, things that are. So, um, I think that phrase is awesome. The even things that are not to bring to nothing, things that are. That's genius. So again, I'll elaborate on that in a second. What Paul's doing here. But God chose what is low and despised in the world, right? So again, we saw how lowly we are, how the world thinks from its low position, right, of wisdom and knowledge and understanding and power. We're way down here, right? We're not on God's tier of being, right? So the world thinks it can raise itself up, right, from its low position, right, in its despised position, because it is. It's despicable what we think we're capable of on a worldly level. It's ridiculous. But in God, in Christ, He has taken us lowly, right, and even despised of the world at its depths of depravity, right? Doesn't even like us, um, and raised that up. That's what He's doing, and that's the work Paul's doing, raising it up, right? So the ascension aspect, the growing up into, dare I say, godhood. Now, don't take it how I'm becoming, God or being one with Him. I'm saying as we're raised up to that trajectory in Christ, right? Um, there's a lot of stuff philosophically and stuff theologically in there, but we're going to leave it alone. I just didn't want you to mistake too much what I had to say. But this is that phrase of even things that are not to bring to nothing things that are. That is for me, that's the setting of right of any way you might feel about being called weak, foolish, lowly. And in our false humility, I think a lot of Christians are like, oh, that's me. We're lowly. If we understood what it meant, we glory in it. Honestly, we glory in it. It wouldn't be as much. Humility is definitely involved, but it wouldn't be that pietistic humility that I've heard before. I probably even felt before, but it would be a rejoicing, a humble, um, you know, exalting, boasting in, right? And it will be. I think he'll say that here in a minute. So, all right, that nothing, the things that are not to bring nothing, things that are. So again, we have two sides, and you might not catch it because it's two sides twice. I think what we would consider the two sides is really two sides twice. So even the things that are not. So they are, right? Whatever they are is not. So your being, your existence is negated, right? Which it will be by death. And honestly, that's a lot of the weakness and not powerful and not noble birth. Our very existence is negated. I mean, it doesn't go very far. There's nothing to it by worldly standards, right? As far as impact or renown or pick something, right? Um, but so your being are the things that are the being negated. Their being is negated with the not. So to bring to nothing the things that are, right? So the work that God is doing is taking things that are in their selves, in their very being of what they are, is nothing. Nothing. To bring to nothing everything that is, right? So he's flipping it. And that's the work of the cross. That is exactly what he did. God flipped everything on its head in Christ, right? And righted the world, right? Righted the ship, and we're still writing, correcting the ship, right? But I love that the phrasing, and again, it's there on purpose. I don't want us to miss that. It is not two sides as it is written. It is two sides twice, right? You are nothing, and you're bringing to what is to nothing. Right. So it's I think I've got it where maybe it makes sense for everybody. It makes sense in my head, but that doesn't mean a lot to the rest of the folks around me, I'm sure. So hopefully I get that. If not, find me, because that one is that's a home run for me. Find me and we'll go around about it until I actually make some sense. Verse 29. So that no human being might boast in the presence of God, right? We will stand in the presence of God. And where will boasting be? Nowhere. Because all your high and mightiness, all that you were and are, will amount to nothing, right? And all that we were not in the eyes of the world will amount to having been everything and meant everything to our homes, to our families, to the future, to our kids and grandkids and great, right? It will have reverberated um, out of my nothingness, right? Because um, God has made us what we are in Christ, is where the work of undoing the negating of our right. I could go on and it gets more confusing and complicated, and the way I put it, probably more convoluted, not on purpose. So I'll just leave it there. But there will be no boasting in the presence of God for that very reason, because He's doing that work. Not us. We're not doing that work. No wisdom of man is doing that work. No one on this planet is doing that work apart from Christ. Right. So verse 30, and because of him, you are in Christ Jesus, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption. Okay. So now you might read that and just be like, oh, Christ who became to us wisdom from God. So don't miss that, because we are in Christ who became to us, not became wisdom from God, not became righteousness, not became sanctification, and became for us, to us, right? He opened our eyes and our hearts and our minds to the truth of who He always was. He revealed Himself as the truth of who He always was. The resurrection confirmed the validity of who He always was. It's only to us that it's been realized. It's only to us because of His revealing of Himself, right, through the gospel to us, that we've seen those things. We've come to know Him as such, right? So He brought what is into the nothing of what we had. We were bankrupt, right? And He brought in Himself everything out of it. So that, as it is written, let no one who boasts boast in the Lord. So He said, no one's going to boast in the presence of the Lord. Just a few verses ahead. Now He's like, this is what we're after. This is why this is going on. All this back and forth play is so that no one can boast, or let you, no one can boast in the presence of the Lord, but let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. So I'm pretty confident we will boast in the presence of the Lord, in the Lord, right? We will boast and brag on our God, to our God, in our God's presence. Right. And what else is praise and glory and all the shouts and songs of heaven except that, right? Bragging on His name. Right. So there's a interplay of all things. I'm telling you, it's all interwoven. It's all interconnected. It's all a spiraling in and out. And that's a part of Crispus that I said we'd allude to, we'd get into later on. I'm just dropping a little teaser here on that one. But again, boast in its place, and don't boast out of place, right? God's negating any ability to boast out of place. So as humanity is about the work of negating the power of the cross, because they got it so figured out, as humanities are in the work of what do you say, negating God's wisdom and doing whatever I was talking about last week. I don't even remember now. But anyway, it's unable to be negated. The work of God in the world, the power of God, you can't, right? The power of the Christ on the cross, the wisdom of God, and yet we can boast in God's negating all those things, right? Boast in the Lord's negating of what is, because what is isn't helpful. Look at what's going on around you. Look at the way things are, right? To bring to nothing things that are. Look at the way things are around you. They will be brought to nothing. And not in a yeah, that's what you get. Like nobody wants that. He brought us to nothing and yet turned us into friends, right? Made friends of enemies. We would love that for the rest of the world. And that's how the world comes into being what it's always meant to be, right? That's how the world returns to the garden state, the garden city state. It was always intended for Adam and Eve when they tended to it well and correctly in Christ. That didn't happen. So now we're on our way working that back out. Christ flipped it all. We're back. So we got work to do, right? So boast in the correct thing, boast in the Lord. Um, that's where you're being made into something is. That's where God is negating all the things that are incorrect with us, all the things that are part of who we are that don't belong. Let them do the work. Let them do. So negating is not bad. There's a positive, negative polarity. You don't have batteries. You don't have all kinds of stuff. You don't have electricity without the positive and negative, right? We need both, and that's the kingly view. Is I need it. I got to take it, and I want to, right? That's the being raising up to kings. I want to know both sides of this thing. I want to be able to operate and function and know when that negative wire is not connected. What the issue is here, and let me put that in place. And when the negative comes, and that's all I see, to know that, hey, there's nothing here without the positive. Life doesn't work. Nothing moves forward without both, without that polarity, that push and pull, pushing you onto something, pulling you out of something, right? It's all day, every day, in everything, in every way. And so let's boast. Why not boast in the work of the Lord? That's just, I mean, unfathomable, let alone the words of Paul in the book. It's crazy work. It is. It's just crazy work. So boast in your God today for the crazy work he did of calling you out of nothing. You big, bunch of nothings. That's what we do. It's what we are. But we will not remain in such a state, right? We are on our way to becoming someone and truly the someone we were always meant to be and becoming that in Christ as he negates what doesn't and brings out of nothing what is, what was always true, and what we ultimately are and will be. Right. So again, might have been dizzying. I hope not, but that's the work Paul's doing. I'm not sure I'm doing it any better than him. I'm fairly confident I'm ruining a lot of it, but it's the work we got ahead of us. So that's it for this one. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time.